All right, so let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Lenny. My name is Claudio. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studios in Fairfax City. We are very humble and grateful that Lenny Zakatek accepted our invitation to the show. Lenny, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. And you always start with the same question. The last 2 years have been very difficult with COVID and traveling. And if you are a touring musician like yourself, you couldn't go to many places. How you make it up? How you holding up, man?
Sorry, I gotta do this. Okay, I'm fine now. It's been tough because England was pretty strict. You know, it was in and out. So I was actually in Pittsburgh recording 2019, 2020, I think, around that time, when I had to leave America because they were shutting down the borders. Otherwise, I'd have still been in the States for 2 years.
Wow.
So I got myself out on the Friday, and on the Sunday, Trump closed down the airways. So I got out just in time. So yeah, it's been, initially it was okay. You know, we're just sitting around, couldn't see family, which was tough for us. And just walking in the hills of Purley, where I live in Surrey, in England. But then it started to get, you know, you couldn't do anything musically. You couldn't meet people. We found it pretty tough, you know, really, really tough. So nothing creative happened. I did manage to, because I was working also with my Italian brothers in Bergamo, where the pandemic first started, and I'd done 2 shows with the Sky Band and the Gavazzini Orchestra. So halfway through COVID, I decided to record an Alan Parsons song called "Don't Answer Me," but I got guys from Procol Harum to play on it, and some of the Alan Parsons Project original players played on it. And I got on board Bonnie Tyler and George McRae, you know, Mr. Rock. So yeah, I kept saying, okay, guys, send me your vocal. I've done the backing track. You know, it's done. It's you know, everybody was ready to go. And George was living in Aruba, so he had his studio in Aruba. Bonnie was living in Portugal because when COVID happened, she had a house there. So they were in their lovely studios. I was in my kitchen in London. So my vocal is on an iPhone. I'm singing. That's the deal. I'm singing my vocal. You have to put that on your show.
I will.
I'm singing my vocal, "Don't Answer Me." And George is coming out of his studio and he's still complaining.
Oh, man.
Quality's not right. And Bonnie did a great job. And the Italian guys sung on it and stuff like that. So it was great. So I felt great because it took about almost 3 months to put together. So it took up some of the time from, you know, that we had in COVID. But it was tough, really tough, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. You were born in Karachi, right? British India, under the name of Lenny Duplatel. You know, feel free to elaborate. All my questions are open-ended, so it's for you to. I'm like a psychologist. I ask questions, people get back to me whatever they want. So, tell us a little bit about your childhood, if you can remember, before you moved to the UK.
Well, I lived in India. It was India when I was born, and then it became Pakistan. And it was lovely for a while. My father was a top policeman out there. My background is Anglo-Indian, so we're a mixture of English and Indian, or English, French, and Indian, depending on who came over to the country and visited our women. So, similar background to Engelbert Humperdinck and Cliff Richards, and actually Freddie Mercury had the same kind of background life. So, we were quite musical. My uncle Jerry played harmonica. Sorry, my dad played harmonica. Jerry played trumpet. So usually, if there was parties, we'd all gather around, the guitars or the piano, and we were almost requested to, 7 and 8 years old to sing something at the parties. So that's my life was pretty full on. I went to a grammar school there. Second language French, third language was sort of Latin. Can't remember it now, but had a good education out there. It was a good life. You know, we were very lucky to live that life. But then it started to get a little dangerous for certain groups of people. So we decided as Anglo-Indians to leave, and most of the Anglo-Indians left Karachi and even parts of India to the Commonwealth, you know, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and England. So I came over in the 60s. I was 13 at the time. And you know, the housing wasn't great as the stuff that we had back there. You know, we had a really lovely lifestyle. So my parents gave up quite a lot for us to leave there and then come to UK. Yeah, UK was tough initially, as it would be, you know, when you're coming from another country. But it kind of gave me an inspiration because we were musical. So I formed a band called the Trailblazers with my friend. My cousin was playing bass. My uncle was a trumpet player. I think he was about 32 and I was 14. So he was teaching me to play guitar up in the bedroom. And instead of learning what I wanted, he would teach me the great songs, you know, Masquerade, Georgia on My Mind, Left My Heart in San Francisco, and songs that my parents would be singing, you know. So I learned a lot of great songs in those early years. So my roots were kind of bluesy, but, you know, classical songs. So we formed the Trailblazers. And even at that age, I think my first gig, I was 15, where we weren't allowed to go into the pub. So we had to go around the back, stay on the stage. And then when we finished the gig, my dad would pick us up and we'd leave, but we weren't allowed to go into the place that served alcohol.
That's right. So, you were very young, man. Right? Yeah.
Too young, but and we formed our own little club as well, called the Trailblazer Club, in a place called Broad Green. There was a club there. There wasn't a club. There was a pub there called the Star Pub, and they had a lot of later bands like the Yardbirds, the Animals.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nest of you know, where there were sort of blues-orientated clubs. Chris Farlow was there. You should look him up. He's one of the big blues singers that came out of the UK in those days. And then we went from there to little shows, you know, but mainly pub orientated. The money was, you know, Monday night you got £10. No, Monday night you auditioned. Wednesday night you got 10. Thursday night you got 15. So I did one audition, and then the guy called us up and said, "I've got a gig for you next Monday night." I said, "We're not doing that. We're going straight to Thursday, you know, for 15."
That's right.
And then we started doing Saturday nights because all the young audience were following us, you know. So and that was a good bedrock for me to start before I went to Germany at 17 and played mainly at the American sort of blues circuit and the clubs that the American Army was frequenting, you know.
Yeah. You knew back then, I don't know, you were 15, 16, making some money, that music was your scene. It wasn't any family pressure to say, well, go to school, you go to university, forget about music, you will never make any money, it's a difficult life.
No, my dad saw me often, and when I came to that point at 16 where I had to take my exams, the GCSEs that we had at the time, and then go on to college, I said I wanted to be a musician. And I remember the discussion at home, and because I was leader of the band and I was getting the gigs as well at the same time, you know. So they were happy that I really knew what I was doing, you know. And I went on to prove to them that I could do it, because we auditioned for Radio London when I was 16 and a half. That was a pirate radio station. And they just sent us a contract. We signed. They didn't know what we signed. And then it said, you got 3 months in Germany. I was 17. So, but because my uncle was in the band and my cousin who was older, it felt like a family thing.
Sure.
So as the Trailblazers, so we didn't have transportation. We had nothing really, but we got we got the gig, and it was in a bar in Hanau in South Germany. And it was a blues bar where it was frequented mainly, I would say at the time, by American Hispanics and black kids, 19, about to be next stop Vietnam. So they were being trained in South Germany. But we didn't know that. We just thought, hey, we're going to Germany because the Beatles went there. It's got to be good. Never saw the Beatles.
Never saw the Beatles. Still looking for the Beatles.
They were gone. We were just hard knocks, man. We were playing, in hard knocks. I mean, the gig, the guy really liked us. I mean, to get there, we didn't have any transportation, but a fan of ours worked for the British Post Office. This is crazy. And he had these vans were called the Green Goddesses. It was the post office vans. You should look up what a Green Goddess van looks like.
I need to check it out.
It does about, I don't know, 30 miles, 40 miles an hour, because that's all it's needed to do to deliver. And we were going to Germany from London, crossing the channel in this Green Goddess. And it was just, a huge van with no seating. So the last gig we did at Gulliver's nightclub, there was some seating lying around in the back. So we took the seating and put it into the van. Next morning, loaded up the van, and we went. And this guy had the weekend off with the van, would you believe? He was working for the British Post Office. So we took off to Germany, and he said on the Sunday, we got there on the Friday, and we were working the Monday. So he said, I've got to get back to work, man. So he took the van back and he went back to England, and we were there now with no transportation. So if we got thrown out of the gate, we had nowhere to go. So we had to make sure
you guys were good.
We were good, yeah. So we went there because in the pubs we kind of did 2 45-minute sets, and that was the deal, in those days. But in Germany, they were like hard-edged blues clubs. And he said, Sunday he gave us a meal and coffee and stuff like that, and we had this little apartment. And then he said, come in Monday, we talk, because Monday was a kind of dead day there, but we still had to work. So he said, tonight, just, play, we see how many people are going to be here, etc. But the deal is, by the weekend, you have to be playing starting at 8. You do 45 minutes, 15 minutes off, right the way to 4 o'clock in the morning, 8 45-minute sets. So it was, at 17, it was tough, So we kind of thought about songs we played before and how do we, and we were doing a mix of British pop. And a few soul things, doing Hard Day's Night by the Beatles, and then Georgia on My Mind and Rescue Me. And it was a real mix of stuff. But when we saw the audience coming, we thought, we better get our shit together here. So, those soldiers, they were away from the world, as they called it, because the world was America to them. Yeah. And they started giving us little 45s, of Joe Tex and Boogaloo Down Broadway by Johnny C. and stuff from Rita and a bit of James Brown. And we'd never heard of this stuff. We'd heard a bit of it, but not, So we were learning new songs and playing them on the night and extending solos and stuff just to get through the first week. But by the end of the month, we had 8 hours down. We knew which spots to kick into and which spots to chill off and play some stuff. And people would come and request, and quite often at that period, you get guys that were drafted and they were musicians. I remember singing duets with this guy called Craig. The most beautiful voice. In fact, he had a better voice than mine. And his next stop was Vietnam. And, so they were in those kind of 4-piece harmony bands, back in LA or Chicago or whatever. So sometimes they'd sit in on our rehearsals and say, no, you should do that, man, because that chord sounds better, That's the real thing. Yeah, that's the real thing, Yeah. So Yeah, so wherever we went in Germany, some of these fans, American soldiers, would follow us, and then rock up and come and sing. You know, we do duets with them and stuff like that. Some guy would play guitar, some guy would play piano, and you just step in, and you knew if Bob came in, he was going to come and play Mustang Sally with you. You know what I mean? And if somebody else came and he did, the Jimmy, what's it, Ramsey Lewis trio and stuff like that. You know, he'd come up and say, "I play that song only, and I only play it in C."
That's right. In a different. Did you ever? Were you able to save any money, or it wasn't enough to?
No. Well, it was great. We got. We were obviously getting better than the national wage in the UK at the time, so we saved our money that first month, and we bought ourselves. The equipment was ours, but we were on the Never Never. It's like hire purchase. You're playing monthly. So our parents would pay the bill while we were away, and then when we came back, we'd go into the record store and pay for our guitars and our keyboards and whatever. We bought a van. We bought a VW combo.
You were doing all right. You were doing okay. You know.
Well, it was secondhand. And we drove that back to the UK because after 3 months, we came back because it was a 3-month contract. So the second month we were playing in an officers' club in Darmstadt. We left Hanau, but we loved Hanau because we just grew to love so many people from Germans to Americans, that were our age, and it was just. But Darmstadt was literally 30 miles away, so a lot of the audience from that area used to come to see us. But we played. We didn't know that the deal on the contracts were that if the club didn't like you or your sound, they had 3 days to make up their mind, and then they can fire you. So in Darmstadt, it was an officers' club, and we started with this big soul set, and we found that the officers' club was a country club. It was a country and western club with a totally different audience.
Of course.
So you can imagine. Yeah. And I won't say what the promoter of that club said to us when they fired us, because it was a word it was the N-word, but basically it was we won't have any N-word music here tonight, and they fired us. So we went back to the army barracks of our friends in Hanau, and we parked up in the car park, and the army let us stay there. And then we used to go into the barracks when the guards weren't around, and wash up and then go back and sleep in the van. And the guys there would feed us and bring us stuff from the canteen. And we did a month there sleeping in the van, and we got a few local German gigs, but we were there on our own, 17, 18 years old, in a car park. So that shows you whether you want to do it or not, really.
Absolutely, that shows you if you're made from the government. My understanding is that singer Lindsay DePaul play an important role in your life, and feel free to elaborate on that.
Say that again.
My understanding is Lindsay DePaul play an important role in your life. With I think you got a very good single, like "I Got You Now," "Get Your Gun."
She. Well, I didn't think the music was great that we did together, if I'm honest. But the break was good because she got me signed to Bell Records, which had Tony Orlando, Tie Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree, and a few other things like Aquarius, Fifth Dimension. So I was in good company. It was an American label. She got me signed to a young man called Dick Leahy, who went on to publish all the George Michael stuff, and he actually opened a label that had Billy Ocean on it, Donna Summers, etc. So you know, for that reason. But I was playing a nightclub called Gulliver's, where I had a residency there, and the downstairs was a jamming place where people like the Supremes and Stevie Wonder and all used to come if they were ever in town. That was the late night place they used to come to. So while I was in the residency, Lindsay DePaul walked in one night with Dudley Moore. Do you know Dudley Moore? The jazz pianist. He's a comedian.
Yeah, I think I heard of him. Yeah.
He was in the movie 10, which was fantastic. So they came in, and his musical ear said, that guy's good. That was me. I was still pretty young. But Lindsay got me signed to Bell Records and she was a friend of Harvey Goldsmith, the big entrepreneur who later became the big entrepreneur and did Live Aid and stuff like that. So, but Harvey really wasn't a manager, but he was about 24. I think I was about 22, and we were just all kids together. And next minute, I'm going to Strawberry Studios in Manchester.
Wow.
And which belonged to 10cc. But I think, if I'm wrong, they were called Neanderthal Man or something before the name 10cc. You might have to look that up.
I need to look that up, yeah.
But so we went to Strawberry Studios, and some of the guys from 10cc played on the track because part of the deal was, you know, you use our studio, we play. And Lindsay was amazing. She pulled that off. The only thing was, she was a pop writer, and I was a little more of a soulful, you know, I wanted to kind of sing soul, really. But I didn't know. I mean, I was convinced and so was Dick Leahy about the direction I was going in. So we had a couple of great records out together, and the Get Your Gun got released in Germany. In German, I sang that in German as well.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was. They changed I had to sing Roter Mann, which means red man, as opposed to Get Your Gun, because it was a bit political.
That's right.
So I sang that in German. I don't think my German was very good, but the singing was okay. So, actually, I've got a CD here somewhere. I should really I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt this, and we're just decorating one of the rooms, and all my CDs have been, my vinyl have been stored. So,
I understand. After that, you joined the band Gonzalez, right? After that?
Yeah. Well, the drummer of Gonzalez was Glenn LaFleur, who was in a band called Slim Chance, which was the band Ronnie Lane Slim Chance, which was the band that used to back Rod Stewart. So he was the drummer with that band, and he was also in, oh God, I'll get the name soon. He was in a couple of really good funk-based, you know, early funk-based bands in the UK that made pretty, you know, success of their music. He had joined Gonzalez, and he'd left the band to join Gonzalez, and we had another drummer, and we carried on working in Italy and other places. But when I came home, he gave me a call one night, and he said to me, I've got a gig you should come and see. I'm in this great band called Gonzalez, and it's 13-piece, 5 horns, percussion, 2 guitarists. Great. So I went, yeah, okay. And he said, our singer is leaving. So I said, who's your singer? And he said, well, Carl Douglas is our singer. And he's just recorded a song called Kung Fu Fighting. So he's gone. So, you know, he's making money. We're not making money. He's making money.
Yeah.
Carl had a great voice. He was a bit like Marvin Gaye type of voice, but he wrote Kung Fu Fighting. So he was gone. So they didn't have a singer. So I rocked up to the Speakeasy one night, and they said, what do you know? And I said, Isley Brothers, Love the One You're With, and I can sing, you know, a bit of blues, and show me what you guys do. But it was mainly an instrumental band, you know, because of the size of the horns. And by the time every guy in the band did the solo, the show was over. You know?
That's right. Yeah, it was 2 hours now.
Here's the trombone player, you know. So anyway, I went up and sang, and they said, we went back to the dressing room after the gig, they gave me 2 C90 tapes and said, learn the songs. I was lucky because there was a lot of instrumentals in there, and he said, if you know any stuff you want to sing. So I recommended, I can't remember which, but I recommended some stuff to them. And he said, the gig's on Friday. I went, okay. So I hadn't had a rehearsal with them. I just knew I had to get my stuff together.
Learn the music, yeah.
And the first gig we did was Birmingham Odeon to about 2,000 people. And as we rocked up, it was Gonzalez supporting Bob Marley and the Wailers.
My God, man. Wow.
And I went, good God. But prior to that, what we didn't know was two of the Marley band had come to check us out at the Speakeasy, and they said, "Can we sit in with you?" And it was the drummer and the bass player, and you just knew by the way he went. You know, the rhythm was there, the bass played, and the band just followed. You know, with little horn stabs and stuff like that. It was just unbelievable. And then we didn't hear anything. We thought we kind of knew, maybe we knew the guys from somewhere, but we weren't sure. And then we got a call from EMI to say Bob Marley would like you guys to support their tour. And we did 5 nights at Hammersmith Odeon in London. It was the first band ever to do 5 straight gigs in one show. You know, now they do that.
That's right.
In those days, you did 1 gig and you went on. So we did 5 nights in Hammersmith. Place was just rocking. But I mean, Marley, his sound checks were 3 hours. You know, he was just jam. I mean, I think he wrote jamming while he was sound checking. You know, because it was just with jamming. You know, and we're thinking, when are we gonna get our sound check?
Yeah, 3 hours. Wow. Yeah.
When you're that young. Yeah, I mean, you know, he'd be in there from 2 in the afternoon sound checking, and our sound check was maybe, you know, 5:30 to 6, and then doors open, and quite often we would think, are we going to get a sound check tonight? You know what I mean? Because and a lot of people say to me, did you feel that Marley was great? And yes, he was, but when you're that young, at the time you think, yeah, we can do this, you know what I mean? We can be the biggest band in the world, because every band feels that, doesn't it? You know, when you're that young. But he was unbelievable. I mean, the grooves, the timing of his vocals, it was wonderful.
And then they ask you to be opening the gigs from them, but besides the 5 gig, you go other countries in Europe as well, or just in the UK?
With Marley, no, we did Portsmouth Football Ground, and I think we did Cardiff Arm Park in Wales, and then we did the one in Birmingham. We just did UK. I think initially I heard a story from one of the labels that, because nobody knew Marley the media and the industry didn't know Marley as such, you know, when the Island records first came out. So one of the reasons for using Gonzalez, because we were, there was this newspaper called the Evening Standard, which was big in London, and we were Evening Standard Band of the Year. We were College Band of the Year, you know, that sort of stuff. So they'd done their research, and they probably thought we could help sell tickets. When you're thinking about it, you know, help sell tickets for Bob Marley, but they didn't need Gonzalez to sell tickets, because the first night it was just rammed. I mean, it was just, there were people fighting outside to get in, you know. It was just crazy, really crazy. And that went on for 5 nights. Absolutely, you know. So, it was a hell of an experience, because we used to open the show by each member walking on with an instrument, you know, and it usually started with the percussionist playing something cool, and then the bass player walked on with boom, 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 the drummer, right? And it was just chilled. And then by the time the horn section came, and then the band just kicked. But that took about 5-6 minutes. And the first night with Marley, we were walking on before the singer came on, me. And by the time I walked on, They were booing. They were throwing shit at, we want Marley. We want Marley. So, because we took so long to come on.
That's right.
So I just chilled the band down. I started talking to the audience. I said, listen, Messiah is here. You're going to hear him. Give us 30 minutes. We love him too,
That's right.
And I was winning him over, saying, we're good. Just give us a chance, and we're British, and but Marley, we've heard him in rehearsal. You are going to get the best show of your life. You've never heard anything like this. Man is Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I won him over with a bit of that, but I could see my time was limited, if somebody was going to come over and physically throw me off.
Throw you out of the stage, man.
So I said, I was looking at the band saying, cut the solos, you know what I mean? Just do a gig and get off. So we did that. We played, I think we reduced 40 minutes to 30, saved our lives, and went off. The next night, so we then discussed what the second night was going to be. And we said, listen, stop this cool stuff about walking on stage. Let's just go out there and go bang, hit them. Start dancing, start singing, get the girls on stage moving with us.
Yeah.
Get the audience up, you know what I mean? They won't have don't give them a chance to have even shout and scream, get the F out of here. We will just hit them with sound. And when the screen opened, it was a kind of very middle-class white audience the second night. The first night were the fans, you know what I mean? The crazy people. And the second night was the people that say, I've got a CD of Bob Marley, don't you know? It's one of those, to be in the know. So it was a very, very kind of a chilled, sophisticated audience. So we thought, I wish we'd done the first show now. So,
that's right.
But you learn. And then after that, I mean, we used to play football with Marley and stuff like that. It was great. He was lovely, but he was pretty private. So that was that one.
Yeah, well, you were young, very good experience. Bob Marley, fine guys, playing all over England. That was, a good, good experience for you. And then Alan Parsons came after that, or is something in between?
No, I gigged for many. I did about 2,000 shows with Gonzalez, up and down the country, everywhere in France, and we just traveled. We didn't do tours as such. We just went out and gigged anywhere, everywhere, because we really felt in those days that we were going to, if we played enough and got discovered through that way, it wasn't through social media and it wasn't through reality shows. You just gigged and gigged and gigged. And
that's right. Yeah, internet didn't exist back then.
And there were programs like All Grey Whistle Test, which would have live bands on and stuff like that. We were pretty close to getting on there because you had to earn the right to be on those shows, in those days. And then I'd already recorded. A lady called Gloria Jones came into town. She had written Tainted Love for Soft Cell, and she had sung Tainted Love, and she wrote Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet. And she went into EMI and she said she was looking for a band with, a guy with my kind of voice, I guess, and a band like Gonzalez. She wasn't sure. She said her descriptor of what she was looking for a cute Hispanic kid, which I'm not, with a great rear end. Now, I don't know if you can print that. And I still joke with her about it. And I had a pretty good rear end in those days, and I had a cute look, the long hair, and I guess I could pass for multiracial Hispanic. I'm angry, right? And so we started to record Haven't Stopped Dancing. She'd written Haven't Stopped Dancing. We did a little bit to the middle eight section, but it was like what Gonzalez would do, percussion and all that kind of stuff. And then it initially got to #1 in the DJ sort of soul charts in England. Yeah. But Radio 1 for some reason wouldn't play it because they were playing Philly sound in those days, and it was like that's what they did, and they were quite stubborn with what they played. They weren't very open with stuff. They are now, So the EMI, it was on EMI as well, which some people felt was the wrong label to launch, disco and stuff. So they took the record off the market and added some percussion. And Johnny Luango did the strings on it and stuff and mixed it. No, Paul Reiser did the strings. He later did some Stevie Wonder stuff, and Johnny Luango mixed it. And then it came out in America, and it charted in America. It killed it. We did Soul Train and everything in America. We just absolutely killed it in America.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then what happened was it came to UK as an import and not as a British song, a British band.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we were doing Soul Train, because in those days, radio and TV was quite diverse. It was like, if you were a certain complexion, they played you, and if you weren't, they played you. It was, I don't want to use the words.
Yeah.
But Soul Train loved it, but they didn't want to put us on because there was a lot of white guys in the band, you know what I mean? And because we were a multiracial band. So we actually sent a picture of Jake, the trombone player, who was West Indian origin, myself, Hispanic. I'm not Hispanic origin, and and Preston Heyman, who was gorgeous looking man, played drums with Kate Bush later as well. Wow. But he had Italian background, and he just come off a holiday in Tunisia, so he was looking the right complexion for Soul Train. So they sent pictures of us, and we still didn't get on the show visually, but they played the track, and the great dancers on Soul Train played it. And Studio 54 was playing it. My sister was an air stewardess for Freddie Laker Airways, and she was in the phone booth putting money in, saying, "Have a listen, having some dancing yet." Studios 54 were playing it. So
wow.
But we never saw any of that excitement because we were in the UK and we didn't know that it was blowing up in America.
Yeah.
But we did well in the UK and the rest of the world with it, so yeah, exciting times.
And why Gonzalez ended? It ended. You left, or kind of after that many years it wears off.
It was like a co-op band. There was no kind of leadership that I could see. There was a couple of guys that would get the gigs and stuff. Mick Eaves was great at doing that, but we didn't have management. We had a guy that managed Mark Bolden for a little while, but they were just in there to strike the deal, get the percentages, and part of the advance money and go. So there was nobody really developing us.
Yeah.
We were very much loved by Roger Ames, who was at EMI. He later went on to Warner's and some, stuff like that. But there was no kind of direction, we weren't hard to handle. We were just loved playing. So for example, when Haven't Stopped Dancing broke in the UK finally after the American success, we got a tour with Tavares across UK.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we were doing shows like in Newcastle, which is 300 miles from London. I remember Roger calling us from EMI and saying, "I've got you Top of the Pops, the biggest TV show in Europe."
Yeah.
I said, "Great." I said, "When is it?" He said, "Thursday." I said, "Oh, we can't do it because we're doing the Penthouse Club in Sheffield." So 300 people. He said, "Get your asses down here, otherwise you have no deal with EMI." So we literally did the show, drove down through the night, went straight, tired, arrived at 10 in the morning, had a shower, went straight to the TV studio and recorded the song. We weren't that organized. We were just for the love of the music,
Yeah.
And even the way they dressed us for Top of the Pops, they took us down Carnaby Street, the famous where the Beatles went in. And they started dressing us up like an American four-piece band, harmony singers, with suits. And we were like, leather straps and waistcoats and shirt, headbands. And
that's right.
We were like the Santana of the UK.
UK, yeah.
nobody had a special pair of shoes or shiny pants. We just jeans. And so they took us to Garnaby Street, and they couldn't dress the band because the band refused to wear anything. But they said, "You guys up front, you need to look solid." So, so if you ever see that Top of the Pops video of me, I've got a pink satin suit on with a gold cummerbund, looking like a 4-piece. Nothing like, I mean, listen, I enjoyed the experience, but when I look back on it, it's just, 70s pop. And we weren't. We were jazz, funk, soul band. We had a residency at Ronnie Scott's nightclub, which is, Buddy Rich played there, and the great jazz fraternity played there. And we had a residency upstairs at Ronnie Scott. So we were, musicians first, really. But yeah.
Wow, unbelievable. 2000 show, man. And then how you end up, let's go to the beginning of with Alan Parsons. You knew Eric at the time?
Yeah, every time. Yeah, two fans that we had that we found out later. One was John Deacon of Queen, who used to come down to the gigs, and Eric Wilson.
Yeah.
I think Eric Wilson may have published. He knew Gonzalez even before me, because I think he worked with Carl Douglas and may have published Carl Douglas Kung Fu Fighting. So he was always around Gonzalez. He loved it. And I was doing some demos at Manchester Square Studios, at EMI. They had a demo studio there. We used to go out and just record tracks. And I was there working with a EMI girl singer called Sheen Mulholland. So I got a call from Eric that day. They said, "I've got a song I want you to sing." I said, "Okay, tomorrow or day after." And he said, "No, tonight." I didn't realize
the same day, tonight.
Same day, tonight. And I said, "But I don't finish till 10. I'm here all day." So they didn't send me a limo or anything. I got on a bus and the tube, and then I walked half a mile to Abbey Road Studios. Got there after my session, and Eric got on the piano, played me a bit of this song. I said, "Okay, so can I hear the backing track and stuff like that?" Which sounded amazing. I so wanted to sing that song. So they said, "Well, go and learn the song." So I went downstairs to Abbey Road, between the canteen and the toilet, put the cans on, and listened for half an hour. Had the lyric sheet in front of me, and I said, "Okay, I'm ready." So I said, the only thing I did say, they said, "What do you think of the track?" I said, "It's amazing." I said, the rhythm section and the sound is just incredible. I didn't know who Alan Parsons was.
Really? You didn't know who he was?
No, I didn't. Thank God, because if I knew who he was, it'd be like Quincy Jones or something.
That's right. Yeah.
I wasn't nervous. I knew Eric, and he made me very welcome, and Alan was fine. They made me a cup of tea and blah 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 blah. And so I came up, and they said, "What do you feel?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I can do a good job." Because I was quite confident. I'd been in Gonzalez and I did gigs and stuff, but I was still quite young.
Yeah.
So, so what do you think? I said, "Well, the guy singing the demo, it doesn't sound very good to me. It's a bit lame because the rhythm section just kicks ass."
That's right.
I think I can perform on top of it.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd lost the gig then, because the button got pressed and Eric Wilson said to me, "Oi, I sang the demo." Mad at me. Oh no, shit! I've blown this one. So that was. I went, "Oh, okay," but I knew Eric as a friend. You know what I mean? So I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. I didn't know. I was digging the hole. You know what I mean?"
That's
so
right.
Okay, in fact, Eric said, "Okay, big mouth, see what you can do."
That's right. Try to do better than I can.
I nailed the song on the first take.
My God, man.
And they heard it and they went, "Yeah." I mean, Alan was he doesn't get very excited. He went, "Fine." Eric was looking, and they're both looking at each other in the studio. And I said, "Okay, give me another pass, because I think I can do a better second verse." Because I'm usually a better second singer. So I did that, and they went, "It's done." Right. So I said, no. And give me one more pass, because there's some stuff I want to end at the end,
At the end,
I
yeah.
would I'm to do a bit of ad lib and the falsetto, the high bit.
That's
so
right.
I said,
yeah.
I just want, because it's fading, and I need to be on the fade somewhere. You know what I mean? I just felt I need to do something. Yeah. So I did that, and they said, okay, that's all I heard. Okay. And no clapping, no nothing. And go have a cup of tea. So I went downstairs, and then Alan did a bit of a kind of ADT thing with the voice, because in those days you had to kind of run it alongside more than press a button and fix it. And I got a call to come up and listen to it about half an hour, 40 minutes later. And they played me the track. And my reaction was, who the is that? And they said, that's you.
Really?
Who the hell is that, kind of thing, but with the F word thrown in.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't recognize my voice, you know what I mean? Because he'd ADT'd it and kind of put his fairy dust on it, as you know. He was brilliant at that. He was a brilliant engineer anyway. So yeah, and it was done. So they offered me £50 initially to do the track. So in those days, my mortgage was £33 a month. So I'm thinking, I got too much mortgage, right?
I can come back tomorrow. Yeah.
No, I can go home, and the wife can take the kids to school. I'm sleeping in, I've done my job. So,
that's right. Yeah.
And they gave me a little more, which was lovely. And so I went home, and then they put me in a taxi at about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I went home. And that was, I wouldn't want to be like you on the iRobot album.
Oh my God, man. That was, man, that's an unbelievable experience, man. And
I still love listening to that song. Yeah. That's great.
You knew at the time that Eric Wilson had a great voice as well, or you knew that from as a friend going to see Gonzalez? You didn't know how good he was?
No, I mean, Eric had his voice would tell a great story. I mean, it's been documented that Alan didn't like Eric's voice initially.
Really?
Not in the sense that he would be tell the word, but Eric didn't necessarily like singing when he first started, because if you look at the first few albums, he's not on the first few albums.
That's right. Yeah.
And then later, I mean, so many of the songs suited his voice. They just were made for him. So the ballads and Certainly Eye in the Sky and Time was beautiful. I mean, I did a version of Time, which I love. I love the song. And then we jokingly, if Eric went into the studio, Alan would go, I'll see you guys in 2 days, because he would push Eric, and push Eric and push Eric. So Alan got an amazing job, done with Eric's voice. Because I don't think, I mean, I know Eric was in bands and stuff, which I hadn't really heard, but smaller bands in Scotland and stuff. But he didn't see himself as a singer. He just saw himself as the creator and the writer, and rightly so. Yeah. But later he grew into the
job, right? Yeah. Into the job. He died very young, right? Yeah, Eric. Yeah, he was unbelievable, man. I mean, I like the three of you with yourself and Eric and John Miles were the signature of Alan Parsons. It's
we had different voices, but I regret never having perform live, say with Eric, and then my voice and someone like John Miles. Also, Chris Rainbow was just unbelievable. The layers and layers. So he would have definitely been one. His sound was part of the Alan Parsons Project, with the vocals and stuff. Together with the band and Andrew Powell and stuff. The sounds that they created, was brilliant. So I think personally, if there had been Eric on leads with me and John Miles, that would have been amazing. And every now and then we would have invited Colin Blunstone because he was that good. It was just the money. How can we pay these guys?
That's right. That's right. How you get and the first 2-3 years or whatever, you guys, Alan Parsons they were selling records, but you were not touring, right? It wasn't a touring band.
Well, you couldn't tour because it was hard because Arista didn't know how to promote the band because Alan wouldn't be performing in the band, you know what I mean? So right. he would be mixing. So yeah, I think there were lots of discussions with the record company. I was privy to 1 or 2 of them about the shows and how we should do it. Not how we should do it, nothing to do with me, because it was Eric and Alan's baby. But there was a definite time where we would have benefited from being on the road because, you know, at that point we had an established audience. And that would move on to finding new audiences as well, you know. And then when the records come out, because if you're not supporting the records with live shows, eventually you're probably going to lose your audience, you know.
That's right.
But we did Antwerp.
Yeah, that was
60,000 people, amazing. With the European Orchestra there, I forget the name. But even then, Alan mainly was mixing the show, you know, from inside the auditorium. And that night, the band was, I think, Davey Payton on bass, Ian Benson on guitar, myself, Stuart Elliott, and then the Cottrell brothers, Richard and Lawrence. And I think, Gary Brooker came on and sang a duet with me on "Don't Answer Me." And I think, if my memory is correct, on the last night, Alan came up in the encore and stuff, you know. But it would have been great to have Alan on that show with us, you know, for the 3 nights. But the sound that he got that night was more important, you know. And then so we were his band, basically, you know.
That's right. So, you have any?
And by the way, Eric was there that night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He came, and it felt weird because he was sitting in the audience, and I'm thinking, I sang "Eye in the Sky" that night, and he gave me the nod to do it. You know, he didn't object that I sang it, so I thank him for that. But he was sitting there in the audience, and I'm singing his song, you know, the one he sang and wrote.
"Eye in the Sky" is a very difficult song to sing. I mean, it's
that range down the bottom.
The range, it goes a wide range is very difficult. You know, even if you're a good singer yourself, still very difficult.
Yeah,
no, many people cannot do it. You know.
They didn't give me any extra for singing it.
You should have.
No, I was really nervous singing it. Really nervous singing it because the other songs that I sang, I'd recorded them, so they're in my muscle memory. You know what I mean? When you're singing "Eye in the Sky," or if you're singing, say, "Old and Wise" and other things that I do now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was really nervous because that early note, when you come in after the big crash chord, and the keyboards come in nice and low, and you got to pitch right, otherwise you're in trouble.
That's right. Yeah. You had received any royalty? I mean, when they pay you £50 to do that, I wouldn't want to be like you. You got any in the contract, or you have like a contract where, if you reach top 10 in this country or sell 2 billion record in England, Germany, you get a little money? Because last night, right, I look at Spotify, and that track had been streamed 28 million times. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, the answer is no.
No?
It was the way it was in those days.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been. I think we got bonuses if it went platinum in America or something.
Yeah.
But none of that was life changing. It was what it was, and it's hard to fight it after the event. You know what I mean? So, and it's a mix of, do you fight it, or do you enjoy the fact that you had the privilege of singing on it?
Yeah.
Because And sometimes you can do that and it can change your life.
That's right.
If people allow you to do it. And other times, I know friends of mine that got very bitter about stuff, and they were chasing it and trying to, do stuff. And in the end, it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
So,
but after singing the track, you knew that you got the gig. I mean, you know that eventually they will tour and they wouldn't be replacing you. So you knew it will pay off on the road, right? Yeah. No,
not really, because we weren't touring. So how would you know?
How would you know? Yeah.
You would just get the call. I mean, I think you mentioned in one of the things about stereotomy or something. One of your questions as to why I wasn't on. I think at the time, maybe I was asking Eric for a better deal, and so I wasn't. Either the songs didn't suit me, which I doubt, because the fans and the record label would want you on the songs, because we were the established people on the musicians on the projects. Because I thought, I did think it was a little unfair that there was nothing else, because we weren't touring, if I'm honest. We got the little bonuses if it went, like I said, platinum in the States or something. But I remember asking, because I felt I was, maybe rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but I was an integral part of the Alan Parsons projects,
Absolutely, yeah.
And so was Andrew Powell and Ian Benson's guitar solos are incredible. I mean, when we do shows, the audience sing you the parts. If we ever get a guitarist to play those songs, the reality is that the audience will sing that melody.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another guitarist wouldn't have played that melody. So those melodies were Ian Benson's, So the band were exceptional, and some of those guys are still playing, and they are. So yeah, I felt I was. I mean, the way Eric made me feel, because I was pretty close to Eric, and that I was some integral part of the band, because I used to do interviews for them, and we went to South America together, Ian, myself, Alan, and Eric. So you kind of feel you're part of that structure, the way you're treated. And Arista Records used to call me up regularly for interviews, which I did willingly. So at that point, I felt I'd like a little more, because I felt, I was part of something.
You're contributing.
And so, my contributions, But so when Stereophonics came out, I wasn't asked to do it. So it could have been that, or it could have been the songs. The song, in their opinion, didn't suit me. I don't know. But so then I thought it was over. But then they asked me back for the one after. So.
Yeah. And then in between, you end up releasing your own record, your first solo record, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because so it's strange, isn't it? So maybe there wasn't a song there for me on Stereophonics, because at the same time, Eric still loved my voice, and he got me a deal with A&M, which I was very grateful for. And a lot of the guys in the band came on and played. Stuart was on drums. John Gibbon was actually a bass player in Gonzalez, but he later went to do some work with Alan on other stuff. But at the time, and I had Max Middleton on keyboards and Robert Awaya on guitar, and they were fantastic players. So the rhythm section was a mix, and Alan was commissioned by Eric to produce it, which was a great sounding album. I love the album.
Yeah.
And I got signed to the American A&M. But in some ways, I wish I'd been signed to the British A&M, because the British A&M were kicking America with the British artists, because they had Squeeze, they had Joe Jackson, they had Joan Armatrading, they had Police.
The police, of course. Still.
I mean, with Sting in there. So they were kicking ass in America.